Oh, here's a great story. All right.
Okay.
This will be my crowning story.
Okay.
There was a guy that used to go to school here named Jose Oportendo, and his family was the Bacardi rum family from the Caribbean, and he was like so rich he had his own jet, and he would always go to class for like half a semester, and then he'd like fly away to Colorado and go skiing for the rest of the semester. So he was always flunking classes. And yeah, so one time I asked him, "What are you going to do when you graduate, if you graduate?" And he said, "Oh, I'll have opportunities," he said. And anyway, my friend who was in my band was a Spanish and French teacher, and Jose was supposed to make up an incomplete. And we were supposed to be playing an outdoor show that night, but it started to rain, and so the people that sponsored it said, "Well, come on over and stay in our kitchen for a while. If it lets up, we'll start up again." And so we went over to this student's house, and we were sitting in the kitchen, and my friend, who was a Spanish and French prof, went into the bathroom to go to the bathroom. The guy came out of the shower, and it was Jose Oportendo, who had been trying all semester to avoid seeing this guy, Tom, my friend, because he had an incomplete, and every time he saw him, he'd turn around and walk the other way. So he walks out of the shower, and there's his Spanish prof, and the first thing he says is, "Where's that incomplete?" And he said, "I never expected to see you here, man." So there's that story.
Funny.
That was a good one.
That is funny. Were there any like locations on campus at St. Ben's that would correlate to like O'Connell's or the pub today that students could go and just kind of hang out?
No, at St. Ben's, no. Actually, St. Ben's didn't have places like that. The building that's the academic services building, that little square job building, that was the student center at one time, and there was a restaurant, and sometimes you could have music in there at night, but it wasn't not anything like O'Connell's or Brother Willie's. At St. John's there was the butcher shop, and that was an old brick building, and I think they're using it now for woodworking or something, but it was really cool in the sense of kind of a student bar. And nobody ever got carded there or anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was like an old place, so it was kind of run down and not nice, but that was kind of cool in a way. When I was with the band, we liked playing there because it was good atmosphere. More of an older, decaying kind of place instead of a nice, modern place. And so then that changed, and then they got Brother Willie's. And no, the campus is much more built up now than it was then. It wasn't very built up, but all the building has happened since I've been there, except for the BAC. That was there, and that's a hallmark. That's a wonderful building.
Yep.
That's the Minnesota Orchestra's favorite place to play in the state. Even if they have their own concert hall, they still like the BAC better.
Wow.
And I don't know, so that was there, out in the middle of the prairie though, and there was nothing around it.
Yep.
Yeah, and then everything kind of got built up, and I think they're still going to build more stuff there. They're talking about it.
Yeah, aren't they talking about like science, or not a science?
Psychology, social science building,
Yeah,
I think. And I think another dorm. And the dorms have gotten progressively nicer now. Some of you live in the first year dorms now?
Yep.
And they're doubles, are they?
Yep.
And after the second and third year, they're nicer, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, the senior apartments are fantastic.
Yeah, they're very nice, and they have washer and dryer, and they have
2
private
bathrooms
bedrooms.
for 4 girls.
I know.
Yeah.
They're very nice.
Yeah, I was kind of amazed at how much space, because when my daughter was living there, she graduated in 2001, she lived in the old East apartments, and I thought those were nice, but these are much bigger and nicer, and air conditioned and all that stuff, and they didn't used to have that.
Yeah.
In fact, the academic buildings weren't air conditioned until maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
Wow.
So
So do you remember any outstanding plays that they did in the BAC that were really phenomenal or
Yeah, I do.
worth mentioning?
yeah, well, I love Three Penny Opera, and they did at least 2 different versions of that since I've been there, and I love going to it, and they did great versions. And you just did Macbeth again this year, somebody did. About, I don't know, 15 years ago, Tom Darnell, who's now retired, but came back and did a play this fall. He did a version of Macbeth, And I was sitting next to a guy named Barton Sutter, who's now the Poet Laureate of Duluth, and is a very well-respected writer. He was a teacher here at the time. And it was performed in such a way that these people lived after the nuclear holocaust, and they were trying to figure out what had happened to the world. And they found a script of a play. It was Macbeth, and they said, well, this must be what happened because everybody kills everybody and everybody's greedy and wants something. And so I said, well, let's perform it and see what we can learn from it. So people dressed in these raggy costumes put on Macbeth as if they were trying to understand what Macbeth was saying. And then afterwards, they all gathered in a circle and they chanted this chant to have the earth return. And I can't describe it, but even just thinking about it, I'm getting goosebumps because it was such a moving experience. Bart and I were both crying when it finished, and we said, we got to go talk to Tom after this. It was such an amazing performance. And we went down to the dressing room and told him so, but it was something else. It was really good. In one of my other classes, I was talking about a guy that graduated from St. John's, and I think around 85, named Michael Hayden. And we were looking at the play, The Playboy of the Western World, which is an Irish play that was performed in Yeats's theater. And Michael Hayden played that on Broadway, and then he played it at the Guthrie. And he's been in the television show Murder One. He's been in numerous other television programs, and he's the most famous for playing the role of Billy Bigelow in the play Carousel on Broadway, and then also in London. So Michael Hayden has actually done very well as an actor. He's a very well-known and very competent actor. So I saw a lot of shows that he was in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there were a lot of good plays. It was actually, I thought St. Ben's used to be one of the best places for what I call academic theater, because I also came through a theater program when I was in school, and we were just fodder for the directors. We just did whatever they said, and they were trying to make their reputations through the plays that we were doing. But here, they're concerned with the experience that the students are having, and they still get good plays. And that's, I think, really good. I think that's a testament to some of the people like Tom Darnell, who's now retired, but they managed to make it a good experience and also have a good show. And when I was in theater, all our directors were Broadway directors, and all they cared about was what went on their resume, and they didn't care if you were unhappy or happy or whatever. It didn't matter, as long as they got their reputation built up. So that was a different kind of thing than what you have here. In general, I think that the difference between my education and what I see happening at St. Ben's is that people care more here, or they care to be nice more. And when I was at big schools, nobody cared what I did. I mean, if I wasn't in class, so what? Somebody else would take my place, so nobody. But here I think people do take an interest in people as people.
Definitely. I agree.
So I've noticed that over the years. And I'll say one more thing. One of the things that I felt like in my own education, that I didn't really make any close friends in college. And I've noticed in both my kids who both went here, both of them have friends that they made in college that they're still friends with 10 years later or 12 years later. And to me, that's a big difference, that you can actually make friends for life here.
Definitely.
And I just didn't do it. Everybody went their own separate ways at bigger schools, kind of.